it's Chris here with today's episode of the Daily Gab, and today's episode will be episode number 13, and today is August 14th, 2018, Tuesday, August 14th. What's going on today? Well, first of all, today was the first day of school for those of us here in Yuba City. I know my wife had to go back today, and because she works for the school district, so she had to go back today. So it was a little weird, just knowing that the school's starting back up again. But you know what's cool about it? I don't have kids in school anymore, so I mean it's not cool about it in that way. But this morning I went out and did a Facebook Live on It's Yuba City and One Eye Blind Media. And I even did one on my personal page, which was kind of weird because I don't do one there very often. But what made it interesting today was the fact that, it was nice and cool this morning. Blue sky, some puffy clouds, all that stuff. But it was nice outside this morning. I mean, and then as soon as school starts, is when you start getting that feeling of, hey, fall's coming. And so you're getting ready to get into the cooler weather and God's sakes, pumpkin spice everything. It'll probably be pumpkin spice toilet paper this year. But either way, it's kind of cool knowing that school's starting, and the kids are going to be doing their thing now, and high school football is going to be starting soon. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm hoping to although I'm a credentialed photographer, videographer, I still want to contact the school district to make sure I get authorization to be at the school during football to take photos and that kind of stuff, because I want to do that. I mean, it's not only to further, my abilities and learn more about photography by doing, these, quicker speed, quicker action stuff, but, my kid plays football, so I want to do it because of that, but I had a good friend who had a daughter in cheer. I've got my kids were in band. So I want to get that whole high school experience at football. The crowds, the snack bars, the other team, the coaches, just everything that kind of goes on with that. So I'm hoping to get out and do some of that. This year. I really would like to have, I'd really like to use my 70-300. But that lens is a variable aperture lens, and so that I can keep my grain down, I got to keep my ISO low. And so what I need to do is I need to go buy the 70-200 2.8, which is the aperture size that gets wide open and let more light in, so I can keep my ISO lower and I can keep my shutter speeds a little bit higher to capture and freeze action, that kind of stuff. But I'll work with whatever lens I have at the time, because I can't afford a 70-200 right now. They're expensive. But, and then I've been looking at this new Tamron 18-400, which would give me the equivalent on a crop sensor camera, which mine is a professional crop sensor camera, would give me the equivalent of 27-600 millimeters. And 27 millimeters would be wide enough for what I want. And then 600 millimeters to zoom would be great, because then I can stand up like up in the stands and get those pictures where I can zoom in from up there and get somebody on the field and be able to get the coaches talking with the kids and just all the bits and pieces that go on and be able to catch like people in the visitors crowd across, or catch people, catch the players on the visitor sideline, that kind of thing. Or across in the visitor side to the home side, whatever the case. So I think it'll be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. And it's kind of weird too. I am not a big Thanksgiving, Christmas, holiday kind of guy. I mean, now when it comes to things like Memorial Day, Independence Day, Veterans Day, yes. I'm not big on Hallmark Day, or Valentine's, as some of you people like to call it. I don't really get big into St. Patrick's Day. I don't get big into those other ones, but the Christmas and I would say it's pretty much Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. I've never been like, big into those. It's not, they just don't, I don't know why. I've just never really had a big deal about them. And maybe it's because of the way the world is nowadays, with people just worried about buying everything and Black Fridays and all that kind of stuff. I just don't like it. But for whatever reason this year, and maybe it's because my kid's getting married in September, my oldest, and maybe it's got me thinking of that because I'm thinking of family more and, the things that they'll do and the possibility of a grandchild coming before too long. I don't know. All of a sudden I got a traffic jam on my street. That's what's going on. But maybe that's why. But I'm kind of jazzed this year about fall, of course. I mean, well, fall is always good to be jazzed about, except for that stupid pumpkin spice thing. Jazz is always, jazz. Fall is always good to be jazzed about. Because it's, the days get a little shorter, the temperatures start cooling down a little bit, and of course, depending on where you live, the leaves start changing. That's where I'd want to be on the East Coast because that's just absolutely gorgeous. But, it's just, and then moving off into the winter, I'm just excited about it. And maybe it's because I've kind of taken on this thing of I want to get deeper into photography. I'm not going to go away from videography. I'm not going to get away from doing promo videos and all that kind of stuff that I still do. But, I just want to shoot more. And I want to shoot more things that are out of the normal of what I shoot. My biggest thing to shoot has always been scenic and abstracts. If you go to my website, oneeyeblindmedia.com, go to the Our Images folder, and you'll see, okay, there's portrait headshot stuff where I shoot with models and other folks, and that's fine. And then I've got my scenic abstract stuff, and then I've got whatever else that I've been shooting, and then of course I've gotten into the car show deal. That's always been fun. I do like shooting the car shows, and so it's one of those things where I don't know. I just been thinking about the other things to shoot. Fall things, harvest festivals, and all that kind of stuff, and then getting into winter. I hope that my wife and I will get the opportunity to get out of the valley and get up to the foothills or get up to the hills and get up around Reno, Tahoe area and be able to do some really good snow shots or head up towards Shasta Mountain and take some up there. Which I know Shasta is going to be interesting because of all the scarring from the fires and stuff. We'll be seeing that as we head up for the wedding anyway. But I'm just getting jazzed about shooting stuff, and I got a couple projects I want to do. I want to do a day in the life kind of a concept where I get the approvals from the district and from the administration at the high school. Do this at Yuba City, maybe even at River Valley if I can do it at both, and be able to go to the school and just spend a day shooting different photos, capturing capturing like all the kids crossing the quad, between classes, and capturing the hallway and how packed it gets, and capturing things like the teachers teaching class, not from inside the class, but from it's that kind of fly on the wall kind of a feel, taking the shot through the glass door or through the window and seeing them in their teaching class and the kids paying attention, and then pictures of administrators walking the campus doing their thing, coaches at football games, the high school band practicing and them at games, and the band director doing their thing. I'd like to also work with Mrs. Robinson with the drama folks, because I did do drama with her when my kid was there. And get some of those images and show what the kids are doing, how hard they work for this stuff that they're passionate about. So it's just a big thing that I want to try, and I'm hoping that I can pull it off. I've got to call into the person that I believe I need to speak with at the high school, and he and I have talked about something similar to this in the past, and so I've given him a call, left him a voicemail. Hopefully he returns my call. I'll give him a couple days. If he doesn't, I'll try him again. I'm sure he's a busy guy, and hopefully I can set up an opportunity to go in and sit down with him and kind of go through it. But it's kind of the stuff I want to do now. And then I like to do a day in the life kind of a concept with maybe a business here locally, and and just do some different things like that can be fun. and it's just, I don't know, just to maybe, take myself out of what I would call my comfort zone, like shooting cars or doing scenics and abstracts and landscapes and that kind of stuff, and getting into doing things that are more, life-based and life-driven. Or maybe I'm, just sitting out on a corner like at Plumas Street and Highway 20, taking photos of, people walking, cars driving by, airplanes flying over, helicopters, just whatever's going on, and just kind of capturing life as a whole. I think it could be fun, and so I want to give it a shot, and that's my next goal. Something else that happened today. A friend of mine, who's been a consultant for many years, he's kind of become the guy to train you to how to do this stuff. He's kind of he knows this stuff, and he posted a video today. His name is Paul Klein. Check out his website, paulklein.net. And really cool guy, really good guy, really smart guy, very intelligent. And so I watched his video earlier, and I thought, you know what, dude, you got me thinking. So I called him, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna give you a couple tips just while we're talking, and he did. We talked about my website a little bit and some of the things I need to do a little bit better on there, and we talked about he likes the concept that I have with One Eye Blind Media. But he's also one of these guys that's big on, you don't just use some company, they use your name. I mean, people know who you are. That's what they're looking for, is you, not the company. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, I've been thinking for the past couple years that I should come up with another name that I shoot under. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have two sides of my photography. I'm going to have the One Eye Blind Media side. That's the side that does events and car shows and scenics and abstracts and blah, 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 blah. But then there's the other side, and the other side is the people stuff where I shoot, photos with people, be it headshots, portraits, whatever. And that'll also be the video side, like the video side where I'm doing just whatever will be the One Eye Blind Media side, where I'm shooting things with people that are like very specific videos. Now, I mean, like lives and that kind of stuff will still stay on One Eye Blind Media, but I've been trying to figure out the best way to do this, so I've come up with what I'm going to do now, and I've actually just gotten the domain name. It's basically going to be Christopher Scott Photography. Now, I may do a Christopher Scott Photography, a Christopher Scott Videography, or a Christopher Scott Media. I don't know. I got to come up with how I want to do it, but it's going to be basically Christopher Scott Photography, and that's going to be my people photography, my little bit more artistic type photography, the type of photography where I'm just say, hey, you know what, I did this shot, I'm going to sell it, I'm going to have it printed, I'm going to put it on this, I'm going to put it on that, and it's going to cost you X amount of dollars. So I think I'm going to try and work on that, and I've got the domain name going, so I'm not going to build the website yet. I'm just going to hold on to the domain name, and then I think when I go back inside after doing this and get this all edited and posted, I'm also going to go ahead and create the Facebook page, the Instagram feed, and probably a Twitter as well. I haven't decided if I'm going to do a Twitter feed or not, but I'm going to create the Instagram, I'm going to create the Facebook page, and hopefully those names are not used for any of that stuff. And then I'm going to try and start building this side up so I have two sides. It's a yin and a yang, or it's a Jekyll and a Hyde, or whatever you want to call it. I think it could be fun doing that. So that's going to be one of the goals now. And then I'm looking forward to, as I said, we've got fall coming, and we'll have different things going on. Schools will be doing like harvest festivals or whatever, and then there'll be community events going on that'll be fun to get into, and like I said, the football games and all that kind of stuff, and then of course basketball and boys and girls, softball, baseball, volleyball, field hockey. I don't care what it is. I want to try and get into working with the clubs and working with the bands and working with the choir, the drama, just doing a little bit of everything. And I think part of that for me is to figure out a way to reconnect our schools with our community and our community with our schools. I think there's too much separation there where people don't get involved. They don't do things to help support our schools, which are supporting our kids, which I think they need. Now, I'm not saying it needs to be like a welfare system where we just hand everything to them, but and they don't have to do anything for it. I mean, I want it to be something where the kids and the community work together. I'm hoping to work with more local, government to do some of these things too. It's kind of like, I know Preet Didball did this thing with bringing kids into government. Bring them into the city. It's a student government, so they learn about different things going on in the city. Then I think there's some of the kids kind of like are the city council of the day, and they learn about those things. And I think that's actually not a bad idea. So I'm thinking, well, how can I do that, but do it in do it as in still life, in still images, and maybe there'll be some video in there too as I progress in my abilities with video, because I don't think I'm that good. But I don't think I'm that good of a photographer either. So I mean, it's going to take some time, and I've got other photographers I can lean on for ideas and stuff like that, which I will. I mean, I kind of want to create I eventually want to create a Yuba Sutter photographers think tank. I don't even know what to call it yet, but the Yuba Sutter photographers, where we all get together and maybe we meet up every now and then, and we help each other out. We bring in new photographers, young photographers. Maybe we go to the high schools and we work with the photography classes. We work with the photography instructors, and we kind of let kids know what it's like in a real world of taking photographs. And I just think there's some opportunities there to do some more stuff, and hopefully I can get some people who want to jump on board and do the same thing. But we'll see what happens. I just got to do some creation and some thinking before I do all that, but it'll get there eventually. Looks like my kid is calling me. I'll have to call him back in a minute when we're done here, because I'm not going to stop this and then call him or talk to him right now, because, well, I don't want to. But you know what? Maybe I will, because he is still calling. So let's see here. Okay, he hung up. I'll call him back in a few minutes, because we got about 12 minutes or so before I'm done here. So yeah, I just think there's some opportunities there, and then I think I can also kind of put some of this into some of the things I'm wanting to do as of right now, which are going to be things like working with the local candidates for their campaigns, and then once these people are elected, I want to work with them as they're elected too, to kind of be the photographer who comes in and takes photos of special events and special awards, and and then I know I've talked with both current sheriff candidates, and we've talked about the possibility of when they are elected, whichever one is elected, then maybe we'll come in and do like a weekly show of some kind where we can do it on, I'll either just hard video it and then edit it, or maybe we'll do it as a Facebook Live, where we come in and they get to talk to the community, and the community gets to talk to them, and people can ask questions, and we can do it, just, I don't know. I think that's one of the things that I'd like to see us get back to is, getting the community connected back together, being like a small town where, people feel comfortable asking their neighbor a question or asking for help or whatever. And it's funny, I spoke with someone today from the Yuba City Downtown Business Association about a project I want to talk to them about, which I have a meeting to go to on the 13th for that of next month. And what I kind of brought up was, it was funny, the person I talked to, she said, well, you'd be kind of like on TV and in the movies. And I'm like, I don't watch this stuff, but my wife does occasionally, and I see it sometimes. But, watch the Hallmark Channel when they start doing this stuff, and how they have, community or town events, and everybody shows up, and it's a big deal if you've got the the best pie recipe or cookie recipe or whatever, and you win it every year, and people want to topple you and that kind of thing because they think theirs is better. And I don't know, I just feel like that's something that this community could really do well with. And it's like, I know we have like the chili cook-offs and that kind of stuff, and I'm sure there's kind of like the Chili King out there, somebody who's got like the greatest recipe that everybody picks every year. And I'm sure they do some little things like that probably at the fair and stuff, but I just think it's something that we could do that, not only to do these kind of events and functions, but, having the ability to go out and capture, what's going on, because, you capture that in an image. The event that happened that year does not last forever, but the moments that you capture in that event do. It's kind of like weddings. I am not by any means a wedding photographer. I don't want to be a wedding photographer. And I think part of that has to do with, I don't want the hassles of a crazy coordinator or bridezillas. You know what I mean? And I also don't want I guess the easiest way to put it is the responsibility of being the primary person who's going to capture those moments that everybody expects, like the first kiss, or the posed photos with like the bride, the groom, and their family. And I'm just not into that kind of photography when it comes to a wedding. Now, what I would love doing though is, I am more of what's known as a candid shooter. I would rather go to a wedding, be at the reception, stand over in a corner somewhere where people don't really notice I'm there, have my camera with a fairly decent lens, lengthwise, a fairly long lens on it, and I'm just standing there waiting for these moments to happen. And when I look at these moments, it's like, the bride and groom are sitting at the head table, and the groom's grandmother, who's 90 years old and the sweetest thing in the world, comes up and gives him a big kiss on the cheek or something, and you capture that moment. Or the bride is sitting there, and her little 4 or 5 year old nephew or niece comes up, and they're all dressed to the nines and looking cute as can be, and they give the bride a big kiss on the cheek, or they hug, or or you see, like what's, like the ring bearer and the flower girl, they're like 5 and 6 years old, and they're hugging, or they give each other a, just a little peck or something like that, and then catching the family having a good time and enjoying it, and, hugging, and, all the camaraderie and all that. I think it's that candidness of it, and I think honestly, if I were to be a wedding photographer and I were to take all the pose shots, right? Which, I mean, you can do some cool stuff, but I were to do nothing but pose shots and then hand that, and then I'm one of those people, I'm going to deliver it with a photo book, not an album with printed pictures in it, but an actual photo book. So I give them that, or then I give them a photo book of all of these images that were captured that are special moments that people don't see, they don't notice them. They're not expected. They're not posed. They're not planned. They just happen. And then you give them a book of that. I think honestly they would cherish the book of those special moments far more than they would a posed moment. It's kind of like, I've even thought about contacting the company that does the football photography, for the football team at the high school, and saying, hey, do you guys mind if I come out and do a little candid photography with it, where you got, maybe it's a couple of the guys that have been friends since they were little, and now they're playing football together, and they're all high-fiving each other, and you capture those kind of moments. The ones that I feel like will mean more in the future than just a posed shot of the whole team standing there. You know what? Or, it's like being on the field for the football game and catching this one player who's been struggling, been having a hard time, and he goes out and he does something great, and he comes back to the sideline, and the coach is, giving him a big hug, or the coach is giving him a high five, or maybe it's that image of a kid who's just struggling, and he doesn't know what to do, and he's standing there, and he's got his helmet in his hand, and he's got his head down, and the coach has got his arm on his hand on his shoulder, and just explaining to him, hey, dude, you know what? You're busting your butt. You're trying your hardest. That's all we can ask. You'll get them next time. There's those moments in sports and, everything. I mean, there's just moments in life where I think, capturing that kind of stuff, it's like I look back going, man, why couldn't I have been a photographer back when my kids were little? Because there's so many moments that'll pop into my head going, wow, I'd have loved to have had that on film so I could remember it. I look at the images that I've captured, over the years with having my little crappy point and shoots and that kind of stuff. And there's some great images in there that, you pull them up, you look at them, and you go, wow, I remember that. That was fun. And then it's like going back and, you see people who share memories from, 8 years ago or something like that. It's like when my brother has come out here, or my sister scanned a bunch of images that were images from, when she came out with my niece, who was like 2 or 3 years old, and my dad, and my brother. And, we all hung out in San Francisco. We all had our picture taken in front of, like, the San Francisco backdrop with the Golden Gate on it. And it was a crappy picture because it was all film, and, and it's super old. And I don't know, that kind of stuff, I don't know. It's just like when I do car shows. Yes, I go around shooting the cars themselves because that's what I'm there for. But I'm also looking for those moments to shoot that people don't expect. And it's not in a sneaky kind of way. It's in a candid way. It's just, I guess just capturing life as it happens. It would be just like if I were asked, which I was asked to do something like this one time. Somebody was having a baby, and I'm like, obviously I'm not going to be in the delivery room. But then but from the room on the side, the only problem was the way the hospital wouldn't let me do it. But the room on the side where there's a glass, and I can see through the glass, and I can shoot through the glass, and the mom is facing where I can't see anything, which is what I prefer. But capturing dad's face, or capturing the first time dad gets to hold, their newborn, or, that kind of stuff. I just think that stuff is so important, and so important to people. And, when that child is 25 or 30 years old and they're getting married, and you're like, you know what, I have this picture of the day you were born, and here you are now getting ready to, get married, or here you are married and getting ready to have your own kid. And, and I just think those kind of moments are great, and I think they're worth catching. And it's just like with anything else. It's like I've got images that I've caught of animals, like a squirrel running around my tree one day, and he ran inside of a little hole in the tree and then stuck his head out in his front claws because it was raining. He wanted to stay dry, and I captured him sticking out his head out of that hole in the tree. And, those are the kind of things, just capturing those moments that happen as they happen. I don't know. Well, you know what? We've got about 2 minutes here, so I better start winding it down. These daily gabs have actually been a lot of fun. It's one of those things where throughout the day, before I do these, I'm thinking about what I'm going to talk about. And a lot of times, whatever I think I'm going to talk about, I end up not talking about. So, it's just interesting doing this stuff. I've never, you can hear somebody's dog hollering in the background probably. I've never been one to do the things that I'm doing now, like doing the Facebook Lives or doing these daily gabs as a video thing where I'm on camera. Never been comfortable being on camera. I've never been comfortable doing like what I'm doing now, just even this audio thing. It's just something over time that I've finally gotten, to the point that I'm like, okay, I can do this now. And you know what? It probably means absolutely nothing to anyone who listens to this. If anybody listens to it, probably means nothing to anyone other than me. And, maybe my kids might enjoy being able to go back and listen to it or watch a video or something like that, years after I'm gone. But, it's a little, I guess I'll say it's a little therapeutic for me. And it's fun. I do enjoy it. Whether anybody gets anything out of this or not, I have no idea. Most people may be going, oh God, dude, just shut up. We don't really care. And some people may be like, hey, you know what? You bring up a good point. I'm kind of glad to hear. I don't know. I think just, rattling off whatever I feel like talk about for the day is, I don't know, maybe somewhat important. Maybe it's important to me. It may not be important to anyone else, but I enjoy doing it, and my timer is about to go off right now. So you know what that means? I've gone over my 30 minutes. So I better get out of here. If you do listen to this and you've made it to this point, thank you. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to give that, hit that thumbs up button, because this will be on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up. Give us a comment. We're always happy to hear, or read comments from people. We do respond. If you do enjoy this stuff and any other stuff that I do, go ahead and give us a subscribe. Click the subscribe button and hit that little notification bell too. That'll just give you notice, it'll give you a notification when we post something. We don't post a grossly over amount, but we do post every day now because, well, I'm doing the Daily Gab, so of course I'm going to post every day. And the other thing with doing this is giving me the ability to work on my editing skills too. So I really enjoy doing it because of that. So yeah, but I hope everyone has had a good Tuesday. I hope all the kids had a good first day back to school, and I hope the rest of the week is great for everyone. And and we'll talk to you tomorrow. And again, this is Chris. This is the Daily Gab, and I'll talk to you next time.